Hi guys, well in the spotlight today we have the new RX 570 courtesy of AORUS. Now where the 580 competes with the 6GB version of the 1060, this 570 here is going to be more of a match for the smaller 3GB version of the 1060. So this again is a card which will serve those gamers which are using 1080p for the resolution. The AORUS RX 570 uses a design which we've seen Gigabyte use in the past, with just some minor alterations. As is common for a graphics card of this size, our 570 utilises a twin fan design which are 90mm in specification. Okay, so in terms of the pricing for this card, you guys can pick this up here for $179 in the UK and $270 in the US. This 570 here is kind of in the same price range as that 3GB version of the 1060, and it will more than likely offer better performance. Sadly, we don't have that smaller 1060 to hand today for the testing at the end, but we're going to be doing a direct comparison here with the 470. Okay, so this is our AORUS RX 570. Now this card borrows some design ideas from Gigabyte's now retired G1 gaming line. And so covering the card, we have plastic casing and a twin fan arrangement. Now while this card is a bit dull and lifeless in terms of your styling, this does mean that it will blend in well with other components in your system. And the difference between the AORUS and the Gigabyte cards for the RX 570 family are that with the AORUS, we get some RGB lighting, and that sits on the edge of the card, so it is quite toned down compared to some kit that we see on the market. So this card is quite small, but it certainly isn't the shortest card we've seen. Putting it next to the 1060, you can get an idea there of the scale. And so we'll now do a quick measurement of the card, letting you guys know the exact dimensions there for case compatibility. So for the length, 570 is just over 235. For the width, you're looking at 108mm, and then the height is 38mm. And so for most mid-towers, this card will have no problems fitting inside. Now, being a custom card, this AORUS 570 comes with a factory overclock applied just to the GPU. And so with the reference card, we have a boost of 1244, but with this card here, we have a GPU boost of 1295 MHz, which isn't too bad at all. The memory clock hasn't been adjusted, that just sits at the default reference of 7000 MHz. And some other things just to note is that this card comes with 4GB of GDDR5, it is PCI Express 3.0 compliant, DirectX 12 ready, and it supports OpenGL 4.5. So the AORUS 570 is a double slotter, occupying 2 spaces on your board and case, which is fairly standard across most graphics cards. And on this back panel we have a number of ports that we can use. So we have one dual link DVI-D giving you up to 3K, triple DisplayPort 1.4s, and those can give you up to 8K at 60Hz. And we also have one HDMI 2.0, and that offers 4K at 60Hz. And HDMI or DisplayPort are obviously going to be your first and best route to take if you are gaming on a single display. Now AMD specify 450 watts for the power supply requirements for 570, and AORUS are advising the same. However, you will need an 8-pin connection for the power delivery rather than just the 6 which the reference cards use. Now over on the reverse of the card we have a large metal backplate which protects the PCB from getting scratched or from warping. And this type of feature is really good to see on a card at this price point as it makes it more robust. And you can see that rather than using ventilation on the back, AORUS have a copper plate, and we've seen a bigger version of this on the extreme cards. The idea being that the backside also has cooling too. Right guys, well the cooler is now removed from the AORUS 570 and this is what we have. Firstly, there are two 90mm fans, and these are what Gigabyte and AORUS call their blade fan design. And these fans will stop spinning if the GPU is under a specific load, and so that you can enjoy silent operation. And these fans also spin in the opposite direction to each other, which AORUS claims will reduce the turbulence. And those fans are fixed onto this large heatsink. Now this solution here lends itself to using a direct touch design, meaning that the heat pipes there will marry up to the GPU itself. And you can see there just how large that heatsink expands out to, and it's been engineered this way so that the RAM and the MOSFETs are all properly cooled in an efficient way. It goes without saying that having detached that cooler, we can now also take a look at the PCB. So this board here is a custom design, and one which is equipped with the ultra durable feature set, which includes an enhanced PCB, all your solid caps and metal chokes. Now this card uses a 6+1 phase design, which not only provides additional power there for that factory overclock, but we should also be able to push that GPU clock even further in a manual overclock. So be sure to check out the full review for that to see how much we could squeeze out. So the driving force for 570 is an updated version of AMD's Ellesmere using a 14nm process. This here is Polaris with a subtle facelift. And the reference clock on the 570 has been nudged up by AORUS from 1244 to 1295, which should help even more with better performance. Okay, so next we're going to see how our 570 handles some of the latest games. And so the games we're going to be using to benchmark are For Honor, Dawn of War 3, Battlefield 1, The Witcher 3 and Titanfall 2. And for each of these games we're going to be going with 1080p for the resolution, and we'll use Ultra for the detail preset. And for comparison we'll be putting the 570 against its predecessor, the RX 470. The comparison card we'll be using is the PowerColor Red Devil 470. And for other benchmarks and resolutions, please head on over to that full review in the description. And while we check out these games, we're also going to have GPU-Z running in the background to pick up on the max GPU temperature and see how effective that cooler really is.
Honestly, try honesty, no. Just tell me what I want to hear, 'cause it could save us. Let me fly, I've got my hopes, but I can hardly see why I'm still chasing. It's not worth it for me anymore. Crashed and burned 100 times, I'm lost. I just can't let this go. Every last chance I had is gone, but I just can't let you know. I just can't let you know. But I just can't let you know.
Okay, and while we're in game, we'll just check out the fan speed noise. The fans are actually on auto, so this is around 40% at the moment. Okay, and just coming out of Titanfall 2, let's just quit the game for a look at that max GPU temperature to see how well that cooler did, and there we have the result. Okay, so that is the new AORUS RX 570. Now, as you've seen, if you're already gaming on a 470, then it really isn't worth upgrading to the 570, especially if you've got a card which is overclocked, like the one that we benchmarked with. The difference in performance is really marginal, and that goes for the 1060 as well. If you've already got a 3GB version of the 1060, then it's sensible really to hold on to it. And that is the same story that we've been reporting with the RX 580, the next card up from this 570. If you've already got a 480, 1060, then it isn't worth moving to a 580. So where this 570 comes in is if you're still perhaps gaming on an older card, one which is from 1 or 2 generations prior to the release of this 570 here. Now, as far as what AORUS have done with this card, I have to say I'm not a fan of the physical design. The plastic shroud is quite flimsy, quite plain. However, when it comes down to it, the outright performance is always going to be the top priority, isn't it? Frame rate, cooling, and noise are always one of these things which are the higher priority, unless, however, you are only concerned with eye candy. And so the AORUS card here offers good performance, 1080p performance. It's quiet, reasonably cool, and it is going to fit inside most cases. We'll be posting a full review of this card up on Vortez.net very soon. Be sure to check out the links which are going to be on the screen in the description very soon. Thanks for watching today, guys. Please hit that subscribe button if you liked this content and you want to see more of it. Take care of yourself, and I will see you guys next week for some live footage from Computex 2017. The was going to be using frame rate, cooling, and noise are always one of these things which are the higher priority,